Everyone, Sandy Grove, registered nurse with Health Tracks at Home again. As I said last week, this is National Emergency Prep Month, and so we're going to continue going in talking about making an emergency plan. For the next few weeks, we're going to talk about what we do with all the disasters that are happening in our world and around us so that we are prepared. The Department of Homeland Security is encouraging us all to go back over our emergency plans, especially since we had all the wildfires in the state of California and up the West Coast in Oregon and Washington as well. So we don't deal with hurricanes, but we do deal with wildfires and earthquakes and power outages, etc. So we're going to talk about how to stay safe and how to write up a plan. So as we talked about last week, we discussed the need to have an emergency kit in our home. That was the first thing that the Homeland Security Department says to get going. And just to reiterate those things that are important for our physical health that we have to have. So 1 gallon of water per person for 3 days, and then enough food per person for 3 days. Masks that keep dust particles out. They're the cone type of mask that helps us with our air quality. And then, of course, those things that are medically necessary for us, like our medications. Those are things that are absolutely necessary. And then we had a long list of all kinds of other stuff to have on hand. We talked about having 2 different kinds of emergency kits. One, a very large one that you would either leave in your garage or somewhere in your house. It could be anywhere where it's convenient for you. And then for each person in your family, you should have a smaller case that is ready to go on the run. It can be a backpack, it can be a small rolling piece of luggage, etc., but something that you can actually get out of the house with very quickly and has those things that are vitally important for you to survive for a few days. So another suggestion that was given to me by a friend was that if you have walkie-talkies, if you have people, family members that live nearby, neighbors that you're really close to, etc., walkie-talkies go for quite a while, and she uses hers. She's in the hurricane zone, and they're able to talk to their son and daughter-in-law and make sure everybody's okay. So I thought that was a really good suggestion, and if you have somebody nearby, that might be something you might want to get for your home so you can have contact. So as always, I get my information from reliable sources. This week it's from FEMA and from the Department of Homeland Security at ready.gov. Please go to that site and look up information. It's a wonderful site with many things that you can find out for every disaster you could possibly think of. So for the next few weeks, like I said, we're going to talk about covering how to make an emergency plan in the event of a disaster. And they say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Well, you come make my kit and my plan for me, but it's funny. So the first thing we did is number 1 is get a kit. The second thing is to make a plan. We're going to start doing that today. And the third thing is to be informed. So we're going to talk about alert systems and how to be informed in a couple of weeks. So first things first, it is important that you confirm that your mobile device that you might have can receive wireless emergency alerts. That's really important. And we'll talk about that when I get into the alert system, how to find out and how to get it changed if it doesn't work correctly. Sign up for tests or email alerts from your local area from San Diego County. Consider purchasing a NOAA weather radio for all hazards. That's at NOAA. And it's either battery operated or crank, and it has tone alerts, and it does work very well in disasters. Also, if you do not have a landline, you want to check around your area if you have the possibility of getting reverse 911. So that is another option if you do not have a landline. Then sign up for alerts from your workplace, your schools, your houses of worship, and other communities that you want to know what's going on with them in case of a disaster. Make sure that you're on their email list, etc. So download relevant hazard alerts and warning apps. We'll talk about that in depth in a couple of weeks. And create a list of all the alert systems that you're going to use in your household. Everyone that's in your household should know what you're using and what your plan is. So where do we start and how do we get going to make a plan today? The first thing is communication. That's what we're going to talk about today. You can download and you can fill out a family emergency plan from ready.gov, and you can use that as a start, or you can use that as a guide to create your own. It's the most important thing. When disaster strikes, sometimes our families are not together. And so it is important to know some things. First of all, what are the types of disasters that we're dealing with in San Diego County, since that's where we are? Um, can we have floods? Yes, I live in the Point Loma area. We can have floods. Can we have a tsunami? Yes, we have tsunami signs that are sitting out there. Has it ever happened? No, but we could. Do we have wildfires? Absolutely. We're going into our actual wildfire season coming up here in October, so we need to be very aware of evacuation processes or stay-at-home processes, and we'll talk about that next week. And obviously, we have earthquakes, and we've had a couple in the last week in the state of California. Thank you for letting the pressure off a little bit so we don't have one more disaster to deal with. Also, I was listening to our governor today, and he signed a new plan about global warming. State of California is going ahead to be a leader with electric cars and changing things in the state so that we have clean air. And so there are very real threats. There's a lot of people, don't know if I agree with them or not, but they do say that they think that the elevated heat that we've had in the state of California is probably from global warming. We have the highest temperatures in forever this in August. So it's a very interesting thought. So it's a good idea to be prepared in case things go wacky. And we know that the Lord has everything in his wonderful hands, but it's good to be prepared. That's why I'm here. So know how you will contact one another if you get separated. That's very important for family members. It causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And establish a family meeting place that's away from where you are, easy to find, somewhere where you from different parts of the city could actually meet. And then share your plan with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your care providers, whoever is going to be part of your emergency plan. You want to make sure they're well informed. They have a copy of it. Everybody knows what's going on. So first thing you're going to do is create your own personal support network by identifying others who will help you in an emergency. This can be family, this can be friends, this can be care providers that come in to assist you in your home. If you anticipate needing assistance during a disaster, make a list of those people, all of those people that'll be part of your plan. Talk to these people and ask them if they will be part of the plan, and then involve them in helping you make an emergency plan. Make sure everyone knows how you plan to evacuate your home. Very important. You may live by yourself, but your family members need to know how you're going to get out, especially in an earthquake. We don't know. If they know you're coming out of bedroom 2, they'll go and look and see if the window is open in bedroom 2. You want to make sure it's easy for people to find you in case of an emergency, and you need to know yourself how you're going to get out of the house. Have multiple exits to get out of your house. It's a good idea. Think about each room this week. How am I going to get out of here? When I lived in a 2-story home, I had all my plans of tying everything together to get out the window if I had to from the upper story. And when we have children, we have little children that we're responsible for, we always have an emergency plan. We talk to them about the emergency plan. We tell them how to get out of the house. No, don't go that way. Go this way. Get down, duck and cover, get down underneath, for earthquakes. We talk about what to do, crawl out when there's a fire, etc. But as we get older and we don't have little children around the house, do we do our emergency plan? So I'm hopefully going to stimulate us all, including myself, to get back to doing this, because we really do need to have it set in place. So make sure someone in your personal support network has a key to your house in case you're not there when the disaster hits, so that you can call them and say, please go turn off the gas, please do this, this is where everything is. And practice your plan. Don't just create a plan, but practice it. And it's probably a good idea to do it like once a year, do a telephone tree and say, this has happened. And that's what companies do. We have fire drills, we have disaster drills. So it's a good idea for us personally to have disaster drills. You listen to people talking about what they've gone through with the wildfires. We realize we need to be prepared. Some of them were not prepared, and it was very hard on them. So also another thing is to think about the modes of transportation that you use. What if you can't use that? How are you going to get around? What are you going to do? Make a plan. Have more than one alternate route to get away from your house. I know all the different directions I can go to get out of Point Loma. So it's a good idea to know, don't just have the concept of going your normal route, but are there alternatives from your home to get away from a disaster area. Then the next thing is to develop a family communication plan. Well, it sounds like I was just talking about communication, but this is actually who are you going to contact? How are you going to contact? As I said before, you may be separated from your family in a disaster, and you want to know where they are, if they're okay. They want to know if you're okay, and you're not trapped in your home, obviously. So we talked a little bit last week. I mentioned that in 2003, when we had the fires all over San Diego County, we were all affected. Cell towers were down. We could not breathe. We could not go outside. The air quality was horrid. And we learned a lot about disasters that year as a medical professional and what we need to do. People were trapped in their homes on top of hills, etc. So you want to make sure that you have communication, especially if you have any kind of disability. If you have oxygen in your home, you want to make sure you have a plan to get out in case of an emergency. So consider a plan where each member of your family or friends, it can be close friends as well, call, email, do a phone tree, do whatever's available. You know, you can have alternates. Maybe computers are down, but phones might work. Phones don't work, then maybe computers would work so that you can either email or you can call. Have multiple ways that you can communicate with each other and make a phone tree. It may not work, but at least attempt to have a phone tree. Then, like I said last week, you should have somebody outside of the state that you can call and say, I'm fine, I'm at Joe Blow's house, and please make sure that my kids know that I'm safe and I'm going to be staying here until the disaster is over. And are they okay? So it's a good idea. That's what they recommend, that you have someone outside of your state, because the phone lines get clogged in a disaster and you probably will not be able to communicate even with your neighbor across the street. Walkie-talkies. So the next thing is make sure you consider your pets. So many people realized very quickly with the wildfires that many of the shelters do not take pets. And many of the shelters, they get overloaded. Their primary goal is to take care of people. So they can't be taking care of hundreds of pets and turn away people. So you want to be proactive, know which shelters and which areas are pet friendly, have alternatives, maybe friends in other parts of the city that may be able to take in your pets. If they're not in a disaster area, they might be okay, and maybe they can take your pets. Your local vet may take some of the pets in the area. You want to make contact. In an emergency, what do I do about my cat? What do I do about my dog? Also talk to your neighbors, especially if you have cats that go outside, about they should know who your cats are and where they belong, so that if a disaster happens, you can contact your neighbor, you can find out if they've seen your cat or your dog, etc. Because it causes a lot of anxiety when we can't see our pets. So we talked last week about including them in our emergency kit. Make sure we got cat food, dog food, water for them, etc. And plan in advance for what you might need in an emergency so that your pets are taken care of as well. So there's probably a lot more things about communication that I could talk about, but today I just hope this is helpful. I hope that you don't mind that we're working on these things, and I hope it helps you to be safe and feel safe. Next week, we're going to talk about deciding whether to stay or to go. We already know a lot about stay at home, but also there are some things to do if it's not safe out there. As always, like I said before, I get my information from reliable sources, and we know it's from ready.gov today and FEMA. So until next week, I hope and pray that God will bless you and keep you safe. Take care.